All right.
Maybe after church.
I was totally serious. What's that?
Maybe after church.
That too, but for the concert tomorrow, I'm just saying.
Oh, the concert for sure, right?
Bear with me while I make noise and move things, but I can't. Well, I'm going to do my best to not make that sound the whole time. But I do good to stand still, and it just doesn't really happen. Okay. How are we doing so far? We good?
Yeah.
You need anything? Can I get you anything? Yeah. Life is awesome. It's just so good. And I'm just can't say it enough how pleased I am at how good life is. So my question to you this morning is, who are you speaking from? Who are you speaking from? So, 25 years or so ago, I decided I was going to be a full-time musician. And shortly into that journey, I got the coolest dream machine van that any traveling musician would want. It was a conversion van with a bed in the back. I had room for all my equipment, and I could just like cruise around all over the country, take a nap whenever I wanted to. My dog would go with me. It was awesome. So I did that quite a lot. Across, up and down and all around. Or as my friend said when she went on a tour with me once, she said, you know what we did? We went to this part of the country and then just went like a tornado. And then we're over here, we're like a tornado, and then came back. So after those tornadoes, quite a few years of those, the van started to, show signs of life. And things started to give out, you know? And one of the things that was giving out was the passenger side door. The passenger side door latch decided it would just open whenever it wanted to. Just pop open. You'd be going down the road and boom, just pop open. So when things started to happen, I wasn't a minister yet, but I had learned this new thought thing about intention and focusing and affirmative prayer. And so I was praying, I was praying. I was moving from my way of praying my whole life of, please God, I promise I'll be good. I was moving out of that, and I was moving into affirmative prayer of, I accept my prosperity. I live from a peaceful, prosperous place. I am abundant. I am abundant. The words were coming out, but the feeling wasn't there. I'm a Science of Mind minister, which is a sister church with Unity, and Ernest Holmes, who founded that, said that the feeling is the fuel. So I had no feeling. I wasn't fueling it until one day, I'm driving down the interstate, and that door pops open. Now, if you're in a conversion van, you can't just reach over and shut the door. It's like forever. It's like way over there. So I'm throwing a belt, trying to lasso it. I got pulled a bungee cord out from under the, meanwhile my turn signal's on. I'm trying to pull over, and the door's open. To make matters worse, I carried a change jar in the car with quarters. Probably $50 worth of quarters in this change jar. So every second, there's like ka-ting, 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 quarters are just going out like a slot machine right out the door. As if I didn't get the prosperity lesson already. Ka-ting, 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 ka-ting. And I lost it. And my prayer got feeling. And all of a sudden, I said, this is not the truth of me. I am a beloved child of the one. I am infinitely endowed with the beauty and the power and the prosperity of the one. It is God's good pleasure to give me the kingdom, and I expect it. I accept it. No, I demand it now. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. I kid you not, in 3 days, someone tithed a car to me. Didn't even know about that story. Tithed a car. Who does that? Who just gives somebody a car? Oh, you fed me spiritually. I want to give you a car. Where are the strings exactly? I'm looking for them. No strings. I want to give you a car. That's because we are made out of all it is. We're made out of this God stuff that created everything out of itself. And we are creating our life out of that same God stuff in every moment. Yay and uh-oh, all at the same time. Because sometimes we're doing it with feeling in the right direction, and a lot of times we're doing it with feeling in the wrong direction. Well, I knew that was going to happen. Well, she always does that. Well, what do you expect? I mean, it's summer. Everybody goes on vacation in the summer, and the church makes less money. That's just what you expect. If board members, raise your hand. I better not hear y'all say that. No. If that's what you expect, that's what you're going to get. We create out of ourselves, out of the very stuff that is God. I hope y'all haven't had that conversation. If you did, I promise you didn't tell me anything. And we create out of this with our intention, our passion, our direction, our clarity. There's no limit to what we can do, except the limits we place on ourselves, right? And those limiting beliefs, sometimes they are passed down, and we just hold on to them year after year, generation after generation. I believe that's what the Bible means by the sins of the father. Sin is just missing the mark anyway. And so, have our forefathers missed the mark a time or two? Yes. And do we get the chance to recreate history or create it anew? We get a chance to do it anew because we are perpetual, ever expanding, ever growing spirals of growth upward and outward, except sometimes we get to a little plateau that feels good and we set up a little light, a little lamp over here, and we decorate over there, and we're like, we're on the plateau of good. And we're like, no, I'm good here. I know what this is. I'll just stay here. Change is good. I wrote a song about it. Change is good. And we embrace that when we live from a place of trust and faith that there's one. When we suffer, it's because we forgot that there's one. When we fight, when there's war, when there's all this angst in the world, it's because we forgot that there's one. One. Ernest Holmes wrote it in big capital letters in the Science Mind textbook on this one page like 6 times in a row. I was like, one. When I got, get it. Jeez, already. One. But sometimes we have to reprogram, right? We all do. Because the subconscious has been picking up stuff our whole life, and it is such a powerful super machine. Something like 40 million bits of information per second, I think. You have to Google that. I'm pretty sure I'm right, though. And the conscious mind, on the contrary, can process about 4,000 pieces of information per second. Whoops. So whatever's been accumulating over the years, whatever we've been putting into our supercomputer of consciousness, we're living from. What I believe I become. My actions are what my life speaks from. The Quakers have a saying, which I always love saying that. The Quakers have a saying. Get it? They're quiet. They don't. Okay. Anyway. But they do. They have a quote, which is, let your life speak. Let your life speak. And so my actions are what my life speaks from, what I believe I become from this song I just sang. But here's the cool thing. A belief is just a thought you think over and over and over. So you can change the belief that attracts the experience that is the life you're living. So if you want to live something different besides your door popping open going down the interstate, change it. You can change it. And so, but so often we live in this place of, well, I'll change it when I meet the right partner. I'll have that experience when I get a different job that respects me more. I will be happy when my bank account has this much money in it. I call it the land of winna. We got to get out of the land of winna. Because we're never going to get there because we get what we are. I remember when I was taking classes in Science of Mind and I got to this one part and I was like, wait, I was in class and I remember thinking, refund, no, false advertisement, because I read real plain, can't get what you want. I'm like, yes, I can. That's what you told me that got me in here, that I could have what I wanted. That's how you got me here. And the teacher said, you get what you are. You get what you are. So what we embody, what we become, we attract. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love that you guys started with gratitude today. What do you have to be grateful for? That is so awesome. I don't think I've seen a church do that. I've seen a church, lots of churches, say, who do you have a prayer request for? And I think that's great. But to start out with who has something they want to give gratitude and praise about, that rocks. That's great. Keep up the good work. Because when we do that in our lives, what you focus on expands. So when we focus on the gratitude, we get more to be grateful for. It's a cool little way that works out. And so we have to stop. We don't have to do anything, but I encourage us all to stop wasting our time and our life. Life is precious. I led a retreat in somewhere, I don't know, somewhere across the country years ago, and this woman, precious, she was just precious. She was probably older than my mother is now, and that was 10 years ago. So she was probably in her late 80s. And she came up to me and she said, "Thank you." So for what? She said, "I just got it. I've been speaking from my mother's voice my whole life." And her mother had been very controlling and very negative. And she had been swimming in that sin of the father that was passed down, the mother in that case. She said, "I've been speaking my life into form from my mother's voice." Oh, I get cold chills and tears and a smile covered her face. She goes, "And now I'm free. I'm speaking from me, and I'm God." I was like, "You go, girl." God expressing perfectly, uniquely, and individually as each and every one of us. I'm free. I'm speaking from. So sometimes, we get in this place of, "Oh, I get it, and we're trucking along, and life is great." And then, next thing you know, we have this opportunity to move in urgency. Have you ever had that happen? Where you're peaceful, moving at the pace of peace. I had my oneness blessing, I am good. That was awesome, by the way. Thank you. Were you? Oh, thank you. And the other person that did it? Oh, there you are. Thank you. You need to check that out if you haven't done it yet before service. That's so neat that you offer that. And I came out and everybody's like laughing and stuff. I'm like, "Oh, hold on, no. Space. But anyway, you're going through and I'm moving at the pace of peace. That was my affirmation for years because I so wasn't. And I read Wayne Dyer's book, Being in Balance. I'm like, "Oh, I want that. Please give me some balance." And so my affirmation became, I move at the pace of peace. I move at the pace of peace. And I did. And I lived at the pace of peace until one day when I didn't. And that was because my youngest stepson, there was a situation and I thought I had to fix it. I thought that I had to take over and go against the tide. Because, when kids are involved, it's like, "Here I come to save the day." I was going to fix it. And the way that I thought in that moment, in my urgent state to fix it, was to move out of the house I loved in the neighborhood. That's the coolest neighborhood in Charlotte. It's the Arts District, and it's 5 blocks from the Smelly Cat Coffee House, and it's just 6 blocks from my favorite music venue. It's just the deal. And I decided to move out of that, move 15 minutes out of town to suburbia in a new neighborhood with no trees. And I'm a tree person. I got to have trees. I feel like I'm smothering if I don't have big trees, right? So I moved out of my dream house, my dream neighborhood, into not so much. And I'm like, what did I just do? So I'm going to tell you, this is the lesson within the lesson. The first lesson is that spirit never, ever moves you from urgency. Doesn't happen. If it's urgent, it's ego. Urgent, ego. Urgent, ego. Urgent. I was a marketing major. They say for us to repeat things. Urgent, ego. Urgent, ego. Urgent. Okay, you got it. Peace. Spirit moves at the pace of peace. So here I was living in not so much happiness of that place, and I wanted to be back in Noda. But what had happened, my friend owned the house. So I didn't want to leave him in a lurch when I moved from urgency. At least I had some common decency there. So I said, "Well, the church needs an office. This is a great spot. We'll just move the church office in here and we'll have class in a house. That'd be kind of cool." So we did. And then immediately I realized, I made a mistake. I want my house back. But the church had moved in. And so what did I do? I did not kick the church out. But I did go into treatment and meditation. We call it spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer. Went into prayer and meditation every day. And not just prayer and meditation. There's a part in this new thought world that's so important, that's so often overlooked, and that's imagination. Seeing it right first, feeling it as if it's already so, and coming from, speaking from that place, speaking your word of power from as if it's already so. And so I would take time every morning seeing myself at the Smelly Cat, seeing myself sitting on my cute little porch, seeing myself walking to music venues, seeing myself greeting my neighbors that I loved. I would see it, I would feel it, I would come from it. Guess what happened? The house next door opened up, and I knew the owner of that house. And I said, "Well, Tom, what you renting that house for?" And he told me, and I said, "Would you be open to renting it to a church for an office?" He said, "Sure, why not?" So I moved the church one house over, and I moved myself back into that house. And I loved it. Because, why? Because You engage a spiritual law that's surrounding all things, guiding all things, orchestrating all things. You engage that when you give voice to your word. When you speak from the truth of who you are, the truth. Wow, what was it here at the end? Let's see. God created humankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, in his image, in his image, in his image. Created out of that God stuff. When we speak from that place, mountains move. And so I moved back into my house. Imagination is such a key. I remember there was a time also when I was living in the not so much happiness house. And I didn't call it that, by the way, though, at the time, because think about it. If I'd called it that, I would have been focusing on that. I spent time and I made it my own, and I was grateful for being there. I actually pool and I built a deck. I was like, okay, bloom where you're planted, so that's important too. But then I kept creating where I wanted to be back. So the other thing I was creating when I was there, I was 60 pounds heavier than I am now. I had type 2 diabetes. I had asthma so bad I would have to puff on an inhaler, step on stage, and hope I didn't have to use it again before I stepped off, whether it was singing or speak or even a 20-minute talk. My joints were, painful. I had to drink like lots and lots and lots of coffee before I left the house. Otherwise, I was not kind. I couldn't think, and that's why I was just moving. It was foggy, right? And I would sit there every morning, and in addition to seeing myself in my house, I would see myself playing tennis. I'd never even played tennis before, but I always wanted to, and I always thought that they looked so fit. I thought if I could play tennis, I'd be fit. And I saw myself singing and being able to breathe freely, and I saw myself, feeling good. I remember I had to work at it. I had to use that imagination and tap into 20 years before when I was a college athlete, or however many years before, maybe less than that. But anyway, when I was a college athlete and I could feel what it felt like to be energetic and vibrant and strong and healthy. And I used that. So whatever it is, you can create it in here. You are creating it in here. Everything, the chair you're sitting in was created in mind first. Everything is created in imagination first. So don't skip that part of the creative process. It's vital. It's vital. So within 6 months, I was living back in the house I loved. I was, at that point, 35 pounds. I was on my way to being 60 pounds lighter, but I was 35 pounds lighter, had reversed type 2 diabetes. A vegan diet helped with that too. We say treat and move your feet in the science of mind tradition. So pray and take action. But all of these things were shifting. The asthma was under complete control. I never use an inhaler anymore. The joints were better. I was playing tennis. I was getting my butt kicked, but I was playing tennis. We are the ones in charge of our lives. You get that, right? And we have to take charge by taking charge of where we're speaking from. So I'll tell you one last story. I was co-pastor of the Spiritual Living Center of Charlotte for 10 years in Charlotte there, and my co-pastor is now the senior pastor there. I stepped down to go back and travel around and sing and speak other places. But I was on the phone with Reverend Renee Laboa, my best friend and co-pastor, one day, and it was after I had stepped down, and she said, there's been some challenges with the finances, and I'm scared. I don't know. I'm just being honest. I don't tell anybody else this stuff. I'm trying to be a good example, and I do believe that God is my source, but I'm scared right now. And she started saying, and this is happening, and that's happening. Maybe I should cut this, but there's not much to cut. It's pretty lean. There's no fat to trim. I don't know what to do, and all this stuff. And didn't sound like the woman of power I know her to be, but I was, being a friend and just listening. I was going to give her. With ministers, we give each other like 5 minutes, 10 tops if it's really bad, and then we pull them back to the carpet. But I was giving her moment to just go there. I didn't have to pull her back, because all of a sudden she goes, "Wait a minute." Literally her words, I love this. I forgot who I was speaking from. I'm Reverend Renee Laboa. I am a beloved child of the One, and it is God's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. I know that the Spiritual Living Center of Charlotte is a blessed idea in the mind of God that will not be denied. It will always be prospered, always be protected, always be guided, always be taken care of. I know that my church is a beacon of love, light, and joy, and it is prosperous. Ding. As she said, it is prosperous. I heard a ding. She was talking to me on her home phone. Her cell phone dinged right as she claimed that fueled prayer. And my church is prosperous. Ding. And then she laughed. Oh, she said, and so it is. And then she laughed. And I said, what? She goes, guess what that was? Did you hear the ding? And I said, yeah. She goes, that was a notification on my phone that someone just made a donation to the church. You can't make this stuff up. I'm telling you, life is so much cooler than fiction. And I like fiction, but that's how it happens, y'all. That's how it happens. We are constantly creating. But are we conscious about what we're creating? Who are you speaking from? Are you speaking from mom or dad, as much as you might love them and carry their memory if they're no longer here? Are you speaking? Sometimes we feel like we have to be the loyal daughter or the loyal son, instead of just going, you know what, Pops? That was your way of looking at life. I love you, I bless you, and this is what I'm going to stand in. This is who I'm speaking from. Maybe it was a cultural thing or a family dynamic. All that stuff plays into what's programmed into that subconscious mind. You don't have to worry about it, though. You don't have to go to therapy for years and years and years and years and years. Although therapy's great, and I've been for years and years and years and years and years. Songwriting was a lot cheaper, though. But anyway. But what you do is you just change course. You change course. But you have to stick to it. Some people say, oh, well, it's just not that easy. Or they say, well, that must be nice for you, being a minister and all. All you have to do is pray and speak and sing. You don't have to do a real job. Side note on that. Trust me. I think maybe a heart surgeon or a brain surgeon is harder than being a pastor of a church. So right here, love this woman. Love her. Support her. It is the hardest job anyone can do, besides maybe a brain surgeon or a heart surgeon. I'll give them their props on that. But even when I was doing that, and you know, I would say, well, or even now that I do have more time. I do have more free time. But still, it takes work. Or when I was as busy as running a church and traveling and singing and doing all like 3 jobs at once, I knew how important it was, so I took the time to do it. Martin Luther King Jr. says, the busier I am, the more time I spend on my knees. The more time I spend in prayer. So the busier we are, that's when we think, oh no, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to meditate today. Oh, please. If you think I don't have time to meditate today, let these words echo in your head the next time that you say that to yourself. Oh, yeah, Reverend Christy's calling me out right now. We always have time. Because we're always creating. We're always creating based on who we're speaking from, the energy of what we're speaking from. Life is awesome. It is awesome. It just keeps getting better and better and better to the degree that you let it. And here's the thing, one last thing. It's not selfish. That's another thing that we sometimes, some of us, I know I did, got passed down is that, well, you know, some people don't have a lot, so it's bad for me to be happy because some people aren't. No, you're showing them the way. In A Course in Miracles, it says, my wholeness blesses the world. You are lifting other people up. Be one of those people that lift other people up and show them the possibility that's theirs to live a life that's rich and full and wonderful and loving. And surround yourself with people that lift you up. So I'd like for you to take a deep breath right now, anchoring this in. And take another deep breath. And one more. And So we just continue to breathe in right here, right now, recognizing on the in-breath, God is. On the exhale, I am. God is. I am. There is no separation. There is no separation. There is only love, only God, only God, only God, only God. So recognizing that there is this one powerful, loving presence moving through all of life. Recognize it moving through you right here and now. With each breath, make it a conscious awareness that this is Spirit breathing through me. This is Spirit thinking through me. This is Spirit filling me with passion and purpose and connection. And so when I pray from that place of knowing that it's God's good pleasure to give me the kingdom, that I'm never separate from my good, and that God is my one and only source and supply. My one and only source and supply of love, of joy, of happiness, of money. It is indeed my birthright. So as I speak these words for myself, claim it for your own if you choose. I am blessed. I am a blessing. I am a blessing manifest right here and now. And my life speaks of love and peace and beauty and joy and prosperity and health and all of the wonderful attributes of God. And I remind myself of this truth with every conscious breath, with every moment of meditation, with every moment of prayer. And so allow that in this moment to sink in. Allow it to be anchored within you as the music washes and swirls around you. So as I thank you, God, for the truth of who I am and whose I am, I remember it, I carry it, and I live from it, I speak from it, creating a wonderful, beautiful life that is a blessing and is blessed. And so it is. Amen.